Thanks, Emily. Now to a case out of Washington County that's been drawing a lot of attention on FirstAlert6.com. This afternoon, Matthew Saunders of Blair made his first court appearance, 10 counts of sexually assaulting a child. First Alert 6 reporter John Chapman was in the courtroom.
Washington County prosecutors asked the court to hold Matthew Saunders without bond, claiming he's a danger to victims and to the community. Matthew Saunders walked into Washington County District Court handcuffed and shackled. His defense attorney appeared by Zoom. District Court Judge Zachary Blackman told Saunders he faces multiple charges of first-degree sexual assault of a child,
which is alleged to be a Class 1B felony. A Class 1B felony carries with it a minimum of 20 years and a maximum of life imprisonment.
Saunders also faces charges of child sexual assault by means of electronic device and terroristic threats. Prosecutors asked the court to hold Saunders without bond.
If you look at count 14, as alleged by the state, there were terroristic threats that were made by this defendant towards at least one victim, if not others. Certainly with those threats already being out there, it's a likelihood that should this individual receive a bond, there is an extreme possibility that he would look at retaliating or trying to do some harm to at least the victims we're aware of as possible others, as well as attempt to get rid of any evidence that law enforcement has yet to come across.
Prosecutors also believe Saunders to be a flight risk. The defense argued that Saunders has no prior criminal history, is married, has children, and has lived in the area his entire life, and then asked for bond to be set. Judge Blackman set bond at $5 million. If Saunders can raise the $500,000 for his release, he would not be allowed to have contact with anyone under the age of 16, no contact with the alleged victim in this case, and no access to internet or electronic devices. In Blair, Nebraska, I'm John Chapman, First Alert 6.
Prosecutors say police are still investigating this case, looking for the possibility of more victims. Remember, the county attorney, Washington County Sheriff, and Blair Police all established a task force to help coordinate any relevant information the public wanted to share with investigators. We have the contact information for authorities connected to the story at FirstAlert6.com. We're told an investigator will contact every single person who submits information to that reporting email address.